First story is titled, Am I the a-hole for leaving in an Uber after my fiance caused a scene at a restaurant? I, female 28, been with my fiance, male 32, for 3 years. We got engaged in April. He is a doctor and I'm a teacher. He's doing okay financially, but I noticed his strange behavior with money. I don't know what to call this, but he has an argumentative personality. Whenever he buys something online or from the shop, he tried to haggle over the price, complaining about how everything is expensive and overpriced. He does this all the time. I hated going out to shop with him as he tried to argue constantly. That made me feel awful, especially since he has enough money to pay, and it's ridiculous. He used to pick up fights with his previous landlords. So far, he moved into 2 different apartments claiming the landlords were the problem, not him. Having lived with him and seen how he stalls with the rent, I knew he was the problem. He wanted us to go to a new restaurant and have dinner. I agreed and went shopping alone and got myself a nice dress since I don't have many. He insisted on finding out how much I paid and threw a fit when I told him the price, saying I should have let him come with me and that I could have gotten it way cheaper. This really annoyed me. It's just a dress, no big deal. But he made me feel guilty for paying for it. I was in a bad mood already. He decided to order a meal from the menu even though he complained about the price. I told him he could pick something else, but he insisted and said he'd figure a way to discuss the price. When the waiter brought him the bill, instead of paying, my fiancé started arguing how the meal was overpriced and wanted to negotiate, saying he won't be paying that much because he thought it was too expensive. He berated the waiter for not accepting the price he wanted to pay. I told him I'd help with payment, no problem, but he was offended, saying he'd never allow it. I was embarrassed since everyone was watching my fiancé telling the waiter he might be trying to keep the money for himself. The manager got involved, and we had to wait for 30 minutes before he showed up since my fiancé refused to pay and get it over with. After arguing loudly, the manager took the money my fiancé gave him and he ended up getting us kicked out while people were watching. I felt awful. This was so humiliating. I yelled at him and refused to get in the car and instead called an Uber, especially after he acted like he won the argument and had this awful smirk on his face. He said I was overreacting after we spent 45 minutes arguing about a meal, which was rude. I stayed with my mom and couldn't help but cry after this embarrassment. He texted me later telling me how upset he was with me for treating him like this and siding against him. He said I hurt his feelings by leaving like that, completely ignoring the fact that he ruined the night. I refused to apologize after his text and I couldn't even sleep thinking about it. No, not a cultural thing. I don't know anyone who does what he does. Especially not like this. We're in Europe, and yes, I believe this has to do with how he grew up. His family always struggled with money, and is still struggling. However, this is unacceptable, and he has no respect for other people and thinks they somehow deserve it. It's inappropriate and disrespectful. Now for the top comments. Not a-hole. This isn't a flea market where you can negotiate prices. He either agrees to pay for the meal he orders or doesn't order it. Price is there, and him ordering and eating isn't some way to leverage that he should pay less. He agreed and ate it. Exactly. Arguing over a meal was so embarrassing and just so wrong and awful. I hated going out with him because of this behavior. It's so exhausting. He knew about the price and yet still ordered a meal thinking he'd negotiate to pay less. Not a-hole. He's a cheapskate. I say dump him. His behavior is a huge red flag. Is this how you want to live with him? No, I don't want to live like this. This is horrible. His behavior is horrible. I've tried for so long to get him to change this awful habit, but it didn't work. I'm just so tired and can't take it anymore. He thinks he's done nothing wrong. Not a-hole. I don't know how much redder the flag needs to get for you. I can't believe you still describe this man as your fiancé. You've already wasted 3 years of your life suffering through this crap. I can't believe that you're still willing to sign up for an entire lifetime of this. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for not letting my boyfriend move into my new apartment after he made us lose our shared one? Me, 23 female, and my boyfriend, 24 male, got evicted a few months ago. We get along well, and both of us are otherwise very responsible when it comes to work and household chores. The main issue here is, he games a lot, and is very loud when doing so. I tried to talk to him numerous times about how it's not appropriate to yell at the game in the middle of the night, but he never really listened to me. After too many noise complaints, we finally got evicted. During this time, we have lived with a relative, and he has continued to be very loud in front of the computer. Now, I finally found an apartment I can afford, but I told him that I don't want to live with him as long as he keeps this behavior up, and that he will need to find an apartment on his own. I would love to live with him in the future if we ever get a home of our own, as we both dream of living remotely in the future. He thinks it's really shitty of me to decide this over one mistake, but I really don't want to go through this whole apartment searching process if he gets us evicted again, and he really doesn't show any inclination towards changing his behavior in this regard. Most of my friends think I am being unreasonable as well, since it was a one-time thing, but I think getting evicted over noise is a pretty major thing, especially since there was many complaints from the landlord before he kicked us out. Am I the a-hole for not letting him have another chance and forcing him to live on his own? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. The problem that led to the eviction was not one mistake, and it wasn't a one-time thing. Otherwise, you guys would not have been evicted. Exactly. Not the a-hole. He needs to change his behavior. He is downplaying what has happened to make you feel guilty. Since he is still really loud, nothing will change. Girl, you are not the a-hole. You aren't his mother, and he isn't a child anymore. If getting evicted doesn't wake him up to his adult reality, he seriously needs to mature the F up. Being evicted can cause housing issues in the future where landlords don't accept you as a tenant, so you're truly best off without him in your living space. Not the a-hole indeed. Sounds like he is a child still. Gaming is fine, but not taking responsibility for your actions and not changing the behavior that caused numerous complaints and finally eviction? That's childish a-hole. Not the a-hole. I'm almost baffled. I'm sure he has lovely qualities, but definitely do not build a life, right now, with someone showing this level of immaturity. How long have y'all been together? We have been together for 4 years, but have been friends since childhood. He's not only totally cool with getting you guys evicted from your home after plenty of warnings, but he has zero intention of changing the thing that's causing it. He literally doesn't care if he makes you homeless so long as he can do what he wants. At that point, you could have been together 64 years and I'd still tell you that it's not at all okay or normal. You deserve better. Update. Thanks for all the comments. It was made quite clear here that most of you didn't see me as the a-hole here, so I felt comfortable talking to him again about this today with how the two of us should go on from now, and I borrowed some of the points here that I agree with, but really hadn't been able to face on my own. It was a good talk. A lot came up that didn't really know of, and he realized that it's perhaps the best if we live apart for a while, and that he tries therapy to deal with the way he has been feeling for the past year. Hopefully, the heated gamer moments will come to an end in the future so that we actually can share an apartment one day. Jokingly suggested testing his hearing since he still had a hard time realizing how loud he has been, and he wants to try that as well. Laughing my ass off. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for getting rid of my boyfriend's mechanical keyboard? This all started a couple of weeks ago. I've been having a real hard go of it during these COVID times. I lost my job, and the job I did find doesn't give me enough hours to pay for rent, so I was evicted from my old place. My boyfriend of a year plus said that I could come live with him, since his roommate bailed to go live with their parents when all this started, and we were planning on moving in together when both our leases were up, so it all worked out. But my boyfriend considers himself to be a gamer, and he also has a pretty nice side gig as a streamer. Not like a popular streamer, so not making the big bucks, but that's why it was a side gig and not his dedicated profession. And I was never around when he's streaming. But since moving in, all I've been hearing when he's at home and streaming is the constant noise of his mechanical keyboard. It's been honestly giving me huge headache every time he starts playing games or even responding to emails. I've tried sitting him down and saying that the mechanical keyboard has to go, for my own sanity. I've been finding it increasingly harder to focus when he's in the next room clacking away. And if you're not aware, mechanical keyboards are crazy loud. But he just says that I should wear headphones. But I don't want to wear headphones when I'm at home. I hate earbuds, and the over-ear headphones are just not comfortable when lying down. So yesterday, when he left for work, I went over to his gaming setup, disconnected the mechanical keyboard and swapped it with the one I ordered, with my own money, that came in the day before. I placed it in a random Facebook marketplace and instantly got a taker, so I can recoup some of the money I lost. When my boyfriend came back home, I could already tell he was in a bad mood. His job's pretty stressful, he said hi, and we started eating, that I cooked, and after washing dishes, he said he's going to go stream/play games. He went into his room and there was a moment of silence, and he came out and asked what happened to his mechanical keyboard. So I told him the truth and said that I sold it to recoup the loss when I bought the normal keyboard that wouldn't give me headaches. He blew up. I've never seen him so angry. Over a stupid keyboard. He demanded I somehow get it back, and I wasn't willing to message the person who bought it, not like that would do anything anyway, and then he started demanding the money I got for it so he can buy a replacement. I reluctantly handed him the $30 I got, and he said that was not nearly enough. Apparently, his old keyboard was close to $200. Anyways, he's been giving me the cold shoulder, and I'm starting to think I messed up, but it was just a keyboard. Why even bought a keyboard for $200? I'll never know. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Congrats! You're about to get dumped and have nowhere to live, and you deserve it. Seriously, who does that? You literally stole from him. Obviously, you're the a-hole, a massive one. You touched my green switch keys, and we will no longer be friends. Should have been on the street before I had time to file the theft report, which should get filed. I hope he doesn't see an issue with whining about how uncomfortable it is to wear headphones when asked, so her solution is to just unilaterally get rid of something her boyfriend uses to make extra money. You're the a-hole, a thief, and most likely an ex-girlfriend in need of a new apartment. You're the a-hole. So, your partner kindly welcomed you into his home when you lost yours, and in response, you stole and sold his keyboard? Yeah, but she said she cooked. You're the a-hole. You're the a-hole. Those keyboards are expensive and most of all, you did it without his consent. You know you're the a-hole. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for not changing my last name after a divorce? When I, 24 female, married my now ex-husband, 25 male, I took his last name. We have 2 children together, both of which have our last name. We got divorced, and I didn't want to change my name because I happen to like matching my kids. And also this name sounds better than my pre-marriage name. He called me like a month ago to tell me he's getting married to his girlfriend. Awesome. Congrats to them. But then he said she doesn't want to share the last name with me, and he wants me to change it. He even offered to pay the legal fees. My reasons for keeping this name are the same as they were when we originally got divorced. I don't want to change it. I told him no, and he accepted that. But then, his partner called me the next day and literally yelled in my ear about how I'm not entitled to the last name anymore, how it should be hers now, and I need to let go of my attachment to my ex because he totally hates me. Also, she doesn't want her future kids to share a last name with me. So now I've added, because I'm a petty witch, to the reason I don't want to change my name, but that wasn't the original reason. It's just like a bonus? For informational purposes, I hate my ex. He cheated on me and was generally an a-hole. We were married for just over a year. The 2 kids are twins. I am not attached to the name because I am attached to him. The last name isn't as common as Jones, but it's not Schwarzenegger either. Plenty of people will have this last name, whether they're married to my ex or not. Oh, and it's not tied to any big, important, or particularly rich families, and neither of us gain social standing or clout by taking it. And for those who don't have kids, let me explain why keeping my name is important. I will always be referred to as Mrs. Child's last name, right off the bat. Correcting people is an annoyance I don't need or want. There's also a massive social stigma about single and unmarried moms. And if your last name doesn't match your kids, you get far less respect and you get treated like dirt. Maybe that's a regional thing and isn't true everywhere, but it's true here. I also don't want to go through the legal process because I have 2-year-old twins and the world is exploding. Edit. For those suggesting I change my name and the kids to my pre-marriage name, my former surname was Hoar. It's pronounced how you think. I'm never going back to that, lol. I might consider changing mine and theirs to something completely different, but that's still more hassle than I want to deal with. Valid and reasonable suggestion, and I appreciate it, but I'm too lazy. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. This issue seems to come up a lot. Perhaps you could counter by suggesting changing both your name and the children's to another name of your choosing if it is so important to them. See how your ex like losing that connection to his children since he has no problem asking that of you. I like this option. I plan on having the same last name as my children do. We can keep the one we have, or I can change all of them. Not the a-hole. He's free to take his fiance's name and solve all of these problems. I really hope she's got a terrible maiden surname that she wants to get rid of too. Not the a-hole. My mom got married, divorced after 5 years, and kept her married name to this day while he has since married 2 others, and no one has asked her to change it. That'd just be weird. He agreed to give you his name when you married. It's rightfully yours. And it sounds like she's jealous already. Yes, this. My mother-in-law was married to my brother-in-law's father first. Took his name and kept it after they divorced. She then married my father-in-law and took his name. When they divorced, she kept that name for like 20 years before she married again and took his name. This time, because she can't stand him, went back to her maiden name when they divorced. All of her exes, except the last, have remarried and none of the new wives did this. She's obviously jealous. Not the a-hole. And that's the end of this video, folks. As always, leave a comment and hit like and subscribe. And if you want more of this content, turn your notification on to get updated on the latest videos. And I'll catch you with the next one. Stay safe.